Hey guys, Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. I've got a really good one for you. I think you're going to like this. So this is a tip on interacting with your customer and winning. We call this the power of the frame. And this is based on a story of my trip to Las Vegas back in the year 1999. And while there, we went to see Mr. Vegas himself, Wayne Newton. And for you younger guys that don't know him, he's just a singer that came up back when I was a kid, and he was just so good. He was such a great performer that he does live shows in Las Vegas, and I think he's still there. I think he reopened, but been around for over 50 years, long time. And so anyway, so my wife and I go to this show. We bought the tickets, right? And we're sitting in there. And I noticed some things that were just a little weird about the show that made sense afterwards. And after I sat, we left and I got to think about it and everything else as to what was really going on. I think you're going to like this. So Wayne he was out there singing, and he had these other singers in. He prided himself on discovering new talent and giving them a shot on his stage, and he really had some good singers in there. And so they would relieve him as he would kind of come in and out. He'd sit over there and smile with his biggest pride as he watched them perform. It was really, really cool. So anyway, his voice started to crackle just a little bit. And so we're watching him, and there was a point at which he hits a high note, and he's singing. Oh, look at that plastic surgery. Yeah, he's been operated on a time or two. Here we go. Just like this right here. So he's there, and he's hit this note, right? And he's holding that smile and that confidence as he hits this high note. But instead of his voice going, it's smooth, it was going, it was cutting in and out. It was terrible. And I look over at her, my wife, she looks at me, and I'm like, what the heck is that? But he never faltered. He held that look right there. He held it with the confidence and pretended like it never happened. Pretended like it wasn't important. He pretended like, he was given the best performance of his life. And what I noticed was that it worked. The audience was on their feet and they were applauding. He went through, he did more numbers, he had more singers come in, he made more mistakes. But when he stood up there to take that bow, everybody came to their feet. Now, what happened there? There is a psychological science called NLP, Neuro-Linguistics Programming. And part of that, one of the elements, there's a law called the person with the strongest frame wins. The person with the strongest frame wins. And what this means is, if one person comes in thinking, is that good? Is that wrong? Right? And the other person has the frame of, this is the best performance I've ever given in my life. The one that holds out the longest wins. If he were to yield and say, oh, sorry, everybody, people might be asking for a refund. He was a true professional. He knew how to hold that. So what does that mean to us? How many of us allow our customers to dominate the frame of the interaction? How many times do you go into a house, maybe as a service technician, and you're afraid to mention the other things that you observed, or maybe you just avoid observing other things because you don't want to be perceived as a salesperson because it's happened to you before? So what would happen, you know the answer to this before I even tell you, ask it, what would happen if you come in and you're making an assessment and your confidence was so strong that you never deviated from that frame? And the customer is, I don't need that, you're just trying to sell me something, and you never falter. You just ignore it and you keep right on talking. Not only that, Mr. Jones, we also discovered this. Okay, this will ultimately lead to that. It's my job to bring this to your attention. If you don't want to do anything about it, That's certainly your prerogative, but you paid for a professional opinion, and that's exactly what I'm here to give you. And you hold that frame. Maybe not as direct, but you hold the frame. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm doing my job. And if you buy from it, yeah, our company benefits financially. That's why we're in business. This is a business, you know, right? You don't say these kind of things, but if your underlying confidence in what you're doing is strong, and you maintain that state, and it can be the same thing. When a lot of people, when they come in contact with somebody else, they wait to allow the other person to determine, is this a happy encounter? Is this nervous? Is this mad? You know, maybe we had an argument a long time ago. How's this going to go? Do you allow them to lead the frame, or do you lead it? What would happen if you took your positive attitude in on a sales call, and no matter what they did, you never broke a smile? You looked like old Wayne there. And you held it. Eventually, they're going to give. He with the strongest frame wins. Now, this is based on confidence, but it can be practiced until it's learned. Fake it till you make it is the expression. Okay? So when you practice your frame, you hold it and continue to hold it, if nothing else, longer than them, and they give. Especially if you're in the right. Just a tip for the day, Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. I hope that helps. I really like this kind of stuff because so much of what we do needs little subtle tips like this to push you over from mediocre performance to superstardom. I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.